Hey guys, it's me, EOD Gaming here, and in this video I'm going to be actually talking about the hardest character to play in Honkai Star Rail. As you can see here, I do have quite a lot of characters in the game. I only don't have Clara as of version 1.2 right now. I have every other character at the minimum level of level 71. As you can see from my roster here, I have played a lot of them, especially once the game goes live, as well as in the closed betas back in 2022 and beyond as well. Plenty of testing, plenty of experimenting so far, and I've come to the conclusion that one character out of all of these actually stands out as definitely the hardest character in Honkai Star Rail. If any of you are playing this character at a higher skill level, or maybe at in Memory of Chaos 10 and etc. and having success, definitely that is the first impression that I get, that this person that uses this character definitely is high skill, knows what they are doing as well, and it's not an easy character to play. But of course, before we dive into the best characters, let's talk about some honorable mentions that I think is quite difficult to play as well. Now, difficult doesn't mean it's the best character in the game. It just means that it's a slightly higher level of understanding of the game in order to play the character very well. And of course, the character that first comes to mind as an honorable mention will be Fire MC. This character is on surface very easy to understand, just deals a lot of damage reduction a kit, does have some damage in her ultimate, as well as also giving team-wide shielding to entire team as well. On surface, seems quite interesting and easy to understand, but when you think about it in her scaling as well, it's not as easy to understand because Taunt is not a guaranteed aggro hit. You do have to build her into effect hit rate if you want reliability in her aggro draw. You do want, for example, team-wide sustain in her builds, so her builds can change very differently, especially if you run her with Day 1 of My New Life or Landau's Choice to give her even more aggro draw. Even when it's off the taunting, more damage reduction as well. You can run her, for example, with this Battle Pass Light Cone, which is This Is Me, the nameless glory one, where you are able to do more damage, so you can be even more of a DPS role, and also you can even turn her, for example, into a damage over time unit with, for example, the Trend of Universal Market as well. Very flexible character. Probably one of the relatively higher skilled characters to use, especially if you use her more as a damage dealer. As you can see here, my Fire MC is a little bit more of a hybrid. I use her as a bit of a bruiser style to deal quite a bit of damage. I don't build so much speed, so she doesn't consume too much skill points as well. This means that her uptime on her taunting, or her damage reduction rather, is higher, because the damage reduction aspect is based on her turns, but the taunt of course is based on enemy turns. And here I do run, for example, sometimes with Landau's Choice, switching to Landau's Choice here just to keep up this build, to have the aggro draw still on Fire MC, at the same time having that damage reduction going on like a longer period of time. So that's what I mean by a bit of a difficulty in terms of her role. She does change based on her gearing quite significantly as well. You can build her fire damage bonus if you wanted to, you can build her defense, or you can of course build her speed, of course, break effect as well. Many flexible options, and that is why she will probably be in one of my honorable mentions in the list. Another character that I think is very difficult and quite high skill in that sense will be Yukong. Yukong is another character that is not easy to manage for a just entering the game player. She's quite complex because of her turn limits. As you know, her skill ability has 2 turns cooldown, and if you don't take your actions within that 2 turns, you actually don't get this massive attack buff. And on top of that, you also have to time her ultimate correctly, because she gives additional crit rate, crit damage buff accordingly as well. Not a character that you can easily just auto battle with, and you do have to play her on her own. For me, for the most part, I actually run her with a damage build, so she's most of likely like my damage dealer in a sense. I just switched out a couple of gear, doing another video and so on. She works even harder at E0, very difficult to understand. At E6, she does get a little bit easier, especially when you are able to use her ultimate and get immediately 1 Roaring Bowstring, so you get the damage on herself, but still requires a bit of timing, knowing about follow-up abilities, knowing about how she pairs with certain DPS character, speed tuning your roster. Definitely considered as my second highest character in terms of difficulty out of a lot of the characters in the game. Clara, I don't think is one of the top, but she's definitely there as one of the more difficult and unusual characters to play. Sampo is also another character that is not very easy to understand, but I wouldn't rank him as an honorable mention also. The one character that I think out of all of this character probably is the highest difficulty and most complex character in the game, I'll give it to actually if you guys want to make a guess, you can leave in the comment section below. And if you're finding value in this video so far, do give me a like and subscribe for more of such future content too. Okay, enough of the suspense. The character on this list would have to go to March 7. Now March 7, to put it long story short, this character can do everything in the game. She's one of the hardest characters to play at the highest difficulty. I use her to clear a lot of my hardest content, and I think she's one of the most well in a sense designed character. She's not OP overtuned in any sense, but she really fits into a lot of content, and let me explain why. Her skill, her overall kit is very simple to understand, and you guys might be thinking, huh, EOD, why are you talking about this character? Seems quite easy, she's a free character in the game, but not so simple once we talk a little bit more. On first glance, she's a character that does shields, draws aggro to a particular character. Easy logic, we're going to just pair her with Fire MC or maybe Clara as well. Most likely that's how she works. Her ultimate has a bit of freeze, a bit unreliable as well because it's only like 50% freeze, does some damage, not a lot, not very significant as well, and she counters attack for some sort of attack which is like speed scaling. So the part about her that makes her a bit tricky to understand, it comes from multiple foes, and the first step, of course, that not everyone might have instantly would definitely be her Eidolons. Not only E6 gives her ability to heal a little bit of the target's HP, but also as you go on, you can see that she does have some refund here. She scales better with defense, meaning that it makes more sense to build her hybrid in E2, which is counter to a lot of builds. People might go like maybe just pure defense, maybe some of us go like crit rate, crit damage, Mark 7 just for DPS if you're running her with, for example, Clara, who's going to take up a lot more of the damage. And you also have here, for example, scales even more with defense and can counter attack a little bit more as well. So even with her Eidolons alone, she also becomes a complex character to play. Do you want to play her for shield? Do you want to play her for damage? And if you want to play her for shield, do you want to care about freezing? Do you need effect hit rate as well? She's one of the characters in the game that scales with almost every single stat in the game, except like HP, defense, sustain, attacks like damage, speed, we'll talk about it in a bit. Crit rate, crit damage, of course. The only stat here out of all these that she probably might not use as well will be like break effect, because she's of ice element. But other than that, she really uses everything, outgoing healing bonus as of E6 as well. So tremendous unit in terms of versatility of accounts. Not simple to build because you have to decide split scaling purely into defense or crit rate, crit damage of ice DPS. And if you want to land the freeze more reliably, you also want to go more for like effect hit rate as well. For me, my relic build, I went for Guard of Wuthering Snow for a bit of tankability and as well a bit of team-wide buffing for Fleet of Ageless. But as you can see here, she really can use many sets in the game. You can even build a case for the defense one, the one with the Knight of Purity Palace, this one here, to give her more shielding, defense for her kit. You can even put a case for attack percentage to build her for a bit more counter, focus on her counters. You can put the speed set on her, you can put the healing set on her. You can put the ice damage bonus set on her because she can use it as well. A very tremendous character in my opinion, super solid, very versatile. Of course, this is just, I'm just getting here, I was doing a video previously on this one, but basically you can run her with energy, regeneration rate, you can run her with like defense, attack if you need to, depending on what you're building this character for. You can run her with Inert Salsoto for more crit if you're building that aspect. Many options that you have available. You can even run Broken Kill to give your crit damage to the whole team as well. Tons of options. That's like the second layer of complexity. The third layer of complexity is her light cones. Her playstyle changes quite tremendously when you change the light cones. For those that mentioned for Fire MC, applies here as well. If you put This Is Me, she becomes more of a damage dealer from her ultimate burst. This is of course a paid to play light cone. You can build her, for example, Trend of Universal Market, which gives her the ability to play into damage over time teams, because now she can burn the enemy base on her defense, allowing you to scale much better as a pure shielder for the entire team as well. And of course, you can put Landau's Choice for more damage reduction, more aggro to herself, and team-wide support defensive options exist also. So just from these three layers alone, you have tons of flexibility. Even if you wanted to go for a 3-star light cone, defense allows her to heal herself every time she uses her ultimate. So as you can see, this character actually branches out very broadly in terms of like the team compositions you can already put her in. The play styles that you are thinking of building her in already massively differs just by a few of these major tweaks. But the last thing that I think not many people think about is not thinking too much about this skill ability. On first glance, this skill ability might seem kinda meh because you put up the shield, you draw aggro. But one thing to note is this 3 turns lasts very long. You can easily bypass the downside of drawing aggro by putting the shield up on as many characters as you can, and you can easily do this by speed tuning your roster to make her move at a much faster speed compared to your other characters. Once you put the shield up on your teammate, you draw the aggro to that person, but you also redirect attacks to that person, which means they get more energy restoration, allowing you to allocate resources of energy recharge based on attacks enemy is hitting. You can redirect it to certain characters to funnel energy there, also protecting squishies, and also if you have E6 to heal them. And if you put it out on like multiple characters on your team, at the end of the day, what it boils down to, for example, is the net aggro draw, which is based on Landor's choice, which will put her as the highest aggro still if everyone has a shield, effectively bypassing the downside of this drawing aggro at above 30% of HP. I think this, and also granted that it also removes debuffs, means that she has an inbuilt cleanse, inbuilt crowd control on the enemy with her ultimate. Just tremendous amount of value. She solves a lot of content in the game, as long as we know how to use this character. And that's basically like my narrative of why I think this is the hardest character in the game. What do you guys think? Do you think there's a character harder than this in your opinion? Or anything that you want to add to this discussion as well? Leave a comment below, we'll be happy to read it as well. And if you found value in this video, do give it a like, subscribe for more of such future content. Thank you so much for watching, see you in the next video.